Don't tell us for forecast.
Hey guys, get when you want to listen to the class. Go outside. You have to sit down there. You have to listen to the class. Come on.
All right, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Come on, listen to it. Get the benefit of it.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. So this week, inshallah, will be a little bit more scheduled. So every other week on Saturdays, we'll be going through this book of Al-Imam Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, about patience and gratitude. And we're actually going through the abridged version, so we're probably another month will be done. But the topic for tonight's talk is man's need for patience. And we talked about the different types of patience, that there could be good patience, there could be bad patience. But when we're talking about the need for patience, we're talking about the obligatory kind, right? Where we have to be patient upon the obedience of Allah. We have to keep on doing that. We have to be patient in staying away from disobeying Allah, right? So we have to be patient upon that, and we have to continuously stay away from those things. And then we're also talking about the patience upon the decree of Allah, that when things happen to us, we have to hold it together. We can't fall apart, right? We have to be patient, right? Whatever situation, like we say, alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. In every situation, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, at any given time, a person is in a situation where he has to obey a command of Allah, or he has to stay away from something which Allah has prohibited, or he has to accept the decree of Allah, or he has to give thanks, show gratitude for a blessing he has received from Allah. So at any given time, we're going to need patience. Is there ever a time where you don't have to follow a command of Allah? No. Is there ever a time where you don't have to stay away from something forbidden? Is there ever a time where you don't have to be patient upon something that Allah Ta'ala has decreed for you? Everything, you're not going to be pleased with everything that Allah has decreed for you. Sometimes you don't even like the food that you get to eat. Right? You don't like you want a little bit more money. You don't like the attitude that, you know, your spouse or your child gives you. Right? So you have to be patient at any given time. And so he says all of these situations demand patience. So up until the time of death, up until we die, no one can do without patience. You have to have sabr at some point in time in your life. Whatever happens to us in this life is either in accordance with our wishes and desires or against them. And in both cases, patience is required. Right? Anything that happens to us, you either like it or you don't like it, right? And he says, in both cases, even if it's something that you like, you have to be patient. What's an example of something that you like where you have to be patient? What if Allah gives you a lot of money? Or He makes things really, really easy for you, right?
You have to be patient because you know that
You got to be patient.
the good
That is coming.
yeah, you know the good
Yeah,
times.
Yeah, because you may have to, because you have more money, because your life is easier, you may forget to thank Allah.
Mm.
You're like, I got this car. Right? You start thinking you did it. Right? Or you're like, I'm not going to go to the masjid anymore because I'm busy with all this other stuff. Okay. So you have to be patient. So he says, if a person enjoys good health, security, power, wealth, and fulfillment of his physical desires, anything he wants, right? Good things. He should not assume that this time of ease will last forever. Right? Don't assume just because things are going good for you now that they're always going to be going good for you. He should not let his good fortune make him arrogant, extravagant, or careless in a way that Allah does not like. How many of you watched Mike Tyson fight last night? Right? If you got to, if Netflix worked for you.
Lost or won?
Huh? He lost.
He was staged.
But the other person that he was fighting, Jake Paul, he had shorts on. The shorts that he was wearing were over $2 million worth of boxing shorts. $2 million. Extravagance. Just because you got it doesn't mean that you need to show it, right? But in America, we had a thing. You got it, flaunt it. Right? Yeah, I got it, you know.
It's an investment.
But we say it ain't tricking if you got it. I mean, if you got it like that, then you can spend it like that. See, you know, But he's saying that when we have that ease, that we have to be patient. Can't start getting extravagant. Now that I got some money, let me go. I'm splurging. I'm buying everybody's meal, and you know, like the old saying goes, "A fool and his money is soon parted." Right? So he should not devote all his time, money, and energy to the pursuit of physical pleasure, because too much pleasure, he says, results in pain. Too much of a good thing, like we say, makes it bad. If you are eating too much, you can get certain diseases from it. Right? Diabetes, if you add too much sugar. You can have too much cholesterol. You can have all sorts of things if you're seeking physical pleasures. So he says he should take care to pay what is due to Allah in the way of zakat and sadaqah. Otherwise, Allah might take away his blessing. And there were some of the people that were like that. They were poor in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and they wanted to be enriched. And so they make dua. They had the Prophet ﷺ make dua for that. And then as soon as they were rich, it changed. They didn't go to the masjid anymore. When the people would come to them and ask them, you know, to pay their zakat, they would put off paying the zakat. And part of that is due to the blessing. Right? So if you get something that is good in your life, you still have to be patient and take care of what Allah Ta'ala has given you. Otherwise, Allah may take it away from you. He should also abstain from spending money in a haram way. And be careful to avoid spending it in a makruh way, right? In a way that's disliked. All of this, he says, takes patience. And nobody can exercise patience at a time of ease except people of very strong faith. As-siddiqun. Yeah. Those people who are truthful. So no one can exercise patience at a time of ease. Again, when things are going well for us, we let it, we put our guard down, we relax. But the people of strong faith, they can withhold even from things that are disliked. That's not haram to them, but they know that it's not a good thing to spend on these things, and so they withhold. So he says something that may catch people off guard. He says patience in adversity is easier than patience in ease. Has anyone ever found that to be true? Yeah? It's easier to be patient when things are going hard for you than it is when things are going easy. So he said, one of the Salaf said, believers and disbelievers alike may have patience at the time of adversity, but only those who are strong in faith can have patience at time of ease. Okay? So the Muslim and the non-Muslim, they go through the same thing. When they go through hardship, they're patient and they get through it. But only the people with the iman that is strong, when things are going easy, they keep it together. When things are going easy, they're still worshiping Allah. When things are going easy, they're still staying away from the haram. These things. So he says, therefore Allah warned against the fitna of wealth, wives, and children. The fitna of what? Wealth, wives, children. See your children back there? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله.
That's Halaqa, right?
No. ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. O you who believe, let not your wealth and children divert you from the remembrance of Allah. He said, and whoever does that, whoever allows their wealth and their children to distract them from Allah, they are the losers, meaning in the hereafter. They'll be the losers. Also Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwan. He says, from your wives and your children are enemies. عدوا لكم واحذروهم وإن تعفوا وتصفحوا وتغفروا فإن الله غفور رحيم. O you will believe, indeed among your spouses and your children are enemies to you. What do we think that means?
I mean, they can't take you off your deen. They can take away your remembrance, like I said, of Allah. There's a whole lot of trials and tests.
Does it mean that they're trying to harm you?
No.
They're enemies.
Sometimes, but most of the time, it just come like that. It's a bitter come.
And then Allah says, but if you pardon and overlook and forgive, then indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful. That you forgive your wives and your children for distracting you.
His wife.
Yeah, Noah. Well, she was an enemy.
Yeah.
But in this
his son.
in this ayat, he says the enmity referred to in these ayat is not that which results from hatred and conflict. Right? Noah's wife, Lut's wife, that was conflict. They were actively disobeying. Right? But it's not that they hate you, your spouse, your wives, your husbands, your children. It's not that they're against you, right? He says, it is the enmity which results from love and care that might prevent parents from religious duties, such as hijrah, jihad, and seeking knowledge and giving sadaqah. Right? When you have a spouse, when you have children, things change, right? You don't want to punish that child because he may need that discipline, but you don't want to punish him, right? Or you may, before when you didn't have kids, you didn't have a wife, you might have been able to go make hijrah, go seek knowledge, go fight in jihad. You may have been able to give sadaqah, but now because you have your wife and your kids, you love them so much, you're spending on them. Is it wrong to spend on your wife and kids? No. But he's saying that you have to, and this is what Allah warns us, we have to be aware of that. Be aware of that love that it may cloud your vision. It may make you turn away from things that are better for you deen-wise. Imam at-Tirmidhi narrated from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma that a man asked him. He asked Ibn Abbas about the ayah that is quoted above from Surah At-Tawabun. Ibn Abbas told him that the ayah refers to some men from Mecca who embraced Islam. Right? So they embraced Islam, but when they wanted to migrate and join the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, their wives and children prevented them from doing so, because it was dangerous to make the migration at that time. And so they're like, I can't make hijrah because I have to take care of my wife and my kids, right? I have to take care, I got things I have to do. Later on, when they eventually joined the Prophet ﷺ and saw that the others had already learned a great deal about Islam, they wanted to punish their wives and children. They're like, they finally get there, and they're like, they've been missing out on probably all types of classes and learning all about the deen because they're in Mecca and everything's happening in Medina. And so when they finally get to Medina and they see everyone else is more advanced than them, they know more about Islam, right? They're probably, and so then they're upset. And who are they blaming? Their family. If it wasn't for you, I could have been up here. I could have been here earlier. I could be, knowledgeable about Islam. I could be doing these things. And so Allah Ta'ala revealed this ayah, and it says, At-Tirmidhi said this report is Hasan Sahih. And we remember at the end of the ayah, Allah is telling them, pardon and overlook. Forgive them. Forgive your family for distracting, right? Don't be so hard on them. And then he tells them, Allah, if you're forgiving, Allah is forgiving. Right? So be easy on the people. He says the hadith, children are the cause of cowardliness and stinginess. What do you think that means?
I think it means like a person could be faced with battle, and he knows his prices, he knows that everything it causes him to go to battle.
Yeah.
But then he thinks, what about my children?
What about my
What if
kids?
something happens? What if something
about
happens?
kids?
Who's going to take care of my kids if something happens to me?
Right. I would give in charity, but
Kids got to have some
I got a newborn.
maybe needs a new pair of shoes.
And what's that? Pampers and the other thing.
Yeah.
Similac.
Similar.
Similac can kill you, boy. Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
But he said it reflects how much a man may be held back in his pursuit of perfection. Right? Because as Muslim, we're supposed to be trying to be the best. And success by his wife and children. Once when the Prophet ﷺ was delivering a khutbah, he saw Hassan and Hussein. Who are Hassan and Hussein? His grandson.
Ali
And who was the parents?
Ali and Fatima.
Ali and Fatima. Radiallahu anhum. Right?
Well,
So he saw, imagine he's giving the khutbah, and he sees these kids coming in,
His grandchildren.
walking, and they stumbling, they're falling down. He interrupted his speech and went to pick them up in the middle of the khutbah. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are his grandkids. I mean, we see kids stumble all the time. And he said, indeed, Allah has spoken the truth when he said, among your wives and your children are some that are enemies to yourself. And this is about Hassan and Hussein. And he said, some of your wives and your children are enemies. And he's saying because it made him interrupt the khutbah to come pick them up, because he said, I saw these two little boys stumbling and I did not have the patience to continue my khutbah. So I stopped and picked them up. He loved them, so that we see the love of the Prophet ﷺ for them. But he said, I couldn't have patience. I saw my grandkids stumbling and falling, and his heart went to them.
Perfect human being.
Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ did so because of his love for children, and in this way he set an example for his ummah to show mercy and kindness towards children. So, Imam Ibn Qayyim, he said, the reason why it's so difficult to exercise patience at a time of ease is because we have a choice regarding how we behave. A hungry person has better patience when he has no access to food. When you don't have any food,
Gotta be cool.
you gotta
be cool.
You're just like,
Gotta be cool.
but what happens when the food becomes available?
Turn to animal.
You can't, it's not as easy, right? You can just,
It's
you
hard.
can get whatever food that you want. You're like, I can't be patient. A person, like he says, similarly, it is easier to control one's sexual desire when no women are around. You can be a saint in prison, right? Or you can do some other stuff.
Oh, really? Because you could be.
Yeah, because you don't have an option.
Right.
You don't have an option.
There's a lot
But
of
the
things.
moment you're in that, you got options. The women are coming to
There's a
you,
lot of brothers.
and they're like, "Furqan."
There's a lot of brothers. There's a lot of brothers that be good Muslims in prison.
Yeah. And when they hit the streets, it's-
for the particular reason that we talked about, when they hit the
I
streets,
know.
like,
I've known a few of them brothers.
yeah, thousands of them.
But think about it. But it's not just in food and in our sexual desire. It could be like that with drugs. It could be like that with money, right? A person could be an honest person. There's no money around. But as soon as that money is there and it's like no one's looking, they turn their back. No one's gonna know. He starts doing it. So
They
He said
say
this-
out of sight, out of mind.
right. But that's the thing. When we have no options, it's easier to be patient. Right? You don't have anything. So your back is up against the wall, you can be patient. But when you have options, it's harder because now you have to make a decision. You have to decide to be good. You have to decide to control your eating, to control your private part. You have to decide to. All right, so let's summarize because it's good. So he said patience is needed in difficulty and in ease. Right? You need it when things are going well and when things are going bad. He says, but it's easier in adversity than when things are going well. Our pursuit of excellence can be hindered by our care for our loved ones. Right? If you love somebody, they may hinder your ability to obey Allah, right? Or to seek to better yourself for the sake of Allah. Right? We have to understand that. And we have to be patient and we have to keep that in mind. I've seen a lot of brothers turn away from the deen or even leave the deen because of a woman. Because of love. She's like, I don't like that beard.
She don't like what?
I don't like that
Man,
beard.
Jamal.
So he says, or she says,
There
no,
was a
can I
brother-
have a dog
there
in
was
the
a
house?
brother that cried
The
to
dog
her.
in the house. Or then she says, you pray all the time. And he's like, oh.
Sahih.
Over
There was a brother that used to come here that got baptized and turned Baptist because of his girl.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
Ain't no way in the world.
So
What you mean?
he says
No way.
patience and ease is harder to achieve because we have options, and that's where we're gonna
If you have
to
money.
leave it here. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us
Yeah,
of those
not
people
here.
who are patient in good times and in bad times. And we ask him to make us of those people who are patient and merciful to our wives and our children, but that we also are wary of, you know, our love for people, right? So we should only love people to a certain degree, because one day, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you may end up having to hate them. And we only hate people for a certain degree because one day the situation may require that you love them. We try to keep everything balanced, and again, we ask Allah Ta'ala to make us of those people who are like that.
Ameen.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Brother, you know, just like the language has different facets. The same thing with the knowledge, like that. I mean, like there's other ways that you need patience when you deal with your wife.